Okay, so this is your second lesson video, and in this lesson video what we're going to do is we're going to create the dependent variables. We're doing this model where we're going to eventually predict whether people are following or distinguishing the landmark precedent. And so we need to create two variables here. One, because we're going to plot with a more complicated kind of ordinal variable, and then we're actually going to model a binary or a dichotomous variable. And so we're going to create both of those now. Before we do anything, though, we're going to save. So File, Save As, and again, go back in here, pols5713, and then just call this Project 3, and put a version in there, and we're going to call this 001. And so the idea is, as you go through, you should continually save and save as version 2, version 3, because you will make mistakes and then you'll have to back up to the previous version. So just remember to do this as you go throughout. So I saved it. You get the blue and the red data file. That's how it looks like. The other thing that you can do at this point is you can go ahead and go over to the blue file, and these are your log files, and you can save that one as well. So we can do this one as pols5713 project 3 version 001, and I usually put a dash in there, so I think I did that. So I'll keep them consistent. And so if I pull this back, eventually that should go to the desktop at some point. I don't know where it went, so let's save. I went to the wrong spot, so let's go to desktop and then save it there. It should go. Okay, came up right there. All right, so we've got our data files established and saved. We've got them out there on the desktop. Let's go ahead and start manipulating these things. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create an ordinal variable called respect for precedent. And so in this ordinal variable, we're going to use two different values. We're going to use the P action, right, which is the progeny action, whether you distinguished or whether you followed, which is a 1, or a 3, which is a distinguished. And we're going to use the judge opinion X, what the actual judge did in terms of 1 is the majority, 2 is a concurrence, and 3 is a dissent. And so we're going to use those two variables to create another variable called respect for dissent. So let's go to transform, compute variable. We're going to call this variable respect, as in respect for precedent. And we're going to say respect for precedent equals 3 if the following arguments are true. And so we're going to start with the first one, which is judge opinion X equals 3 and P action X equals 3. I've given you a table in the instructions, and so this will show you exactly what. So up here we've got a transform compute variable. We're going to create a variable respect. We're going to code it for 3 if J opinion X equals 3 and P action X equals 3. I'm going to click OK. It's going to run out here. If I click back on the data, you'll notice that I'll go out here in respect. I've got this variable, and if I look at J opinion X, it's 3, and if I look at P action X, it's 3 as well. So my data worked. And we're going to keep doing this for each of the categories. So we're going to go to transform compute variable. Respect will already be in there, but this time we're going to, instead of coding the 3s, we're going to code 2. We're going to go back here, and for the 2 values, we're going to do 1 and 1. So this is just following when they're in the majority and when they follow. Okay. All right. So we're going to click continue. That looks good. I'm going to click OK, and it's going to ask me change existing variable, and that's just telling me, that's telling me that I'm going to update values in that variable, which is okay. And I'm going to click OK, and it's going to run, and you'll see these if statements that are popping up on the log. And so we got a bunch more in number 2. We're going to keep doing this. We're going to compute variable. We're going to do the 1s this time, which the 1s are concurrences. So it's 2 and p action x is 1. All right, so that looks good. We're going to click continue. We're going to click OK. It's going to ask me if I can change the existing variable, and lo and behold, it's OK, and so we're going right along. Next thing we're going to do is transport compute, and we're going to do the negative ones. So negative 1 takes place when the first value is 2 and p action x equals 3. Okay. And so I'm going to click continue, click OK, change existing variable, and it's OK. All right, good. Transform, I've got a couple more of these to do. Compute variable, respect is there. Let's do the -2's. If that one should be a majority, so it should be 1, and that one equals 3. So click continue. OK. Change existing variable. It's OK. And then the last category is respect equals -3 when j opinion x equals descent and p action x equals follow. So 3, 1. Click continue, click OK. And sure enough, we'll go through, and when we go to our data, at this point we should have values all the way down. So let's page through and make sure that we've got that. Okay, good. Now, having created our ordinal variable, the next thing that we want to do is we want to check it. So to do this, I'm going to go up and I'm going to run a real quick crosstab. So I'm going to click Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, and then go to Crosstabs. In the columns, I'm going to put that new variable that we created, respect, and then I'm going to do the first one. I'm going to do j opinion x because that's the first value that we used. And so I'm going to run that thing, and then what you should be able to do is you should be able to go down here and look and see and compare with the table that we had. So looks like we've got 4, then it goes to 1, then it goes to 2, then it goes to 2 again, to 1, back up to 1, and then back down to 3. That's exactly what we want. Analyze Descriptive Statistics. Let's go to Crosstabs, and instead of j opinion x, let's do the p action x. We're going to put that one over there, and sure enough, we should go from the first one is going to be follow, right? Next one is biggest one, -2 is a 3, right? 3, 1, 1, 3. Okay, so that seems to match up to the table. We've done our cross-checking. We don't have any values that are off across those different things. Everything seems to be good. And so we've done a good job creating our first variable. Now I've created the ordinal variable respect. We need to create the dichotomous variable that we're going to model with our logit model a little bit later. So instead of -3 to +3, what we need is just a 0, 1. So to do this one, we're going to transform, compute a variable, and instead of respect, we're going to call this follow. And we're going to say follow equals 1. And then we're going to use this if-then statement. It has nothing to do with those. We're going to say follow equals 1 if respect. So let me just go down here and grab it, make sure I get is greater than 0. All right. So if respect is greater than 0, that means we followed the precedent. I'm going to go out to the variable, and out here you'll see I've got all these positive variables. I don't have anything in there for the negative ones, and that's okay. Because right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in these missing variables, and so missing data observations. And so what I'll do there is I'll do transform, and I'm going to recode into the same variable, and I'm going to select my follow. I'm going to move it over, and I'm going to do old values and new values. And so I'm going to say old system missing values now equals 0. I'm going to add that. and then nothing in the if statement. Click OK. And then what happens is if you go out here, now I've got just a 0 and 1 variable, and everything looks to be pretty good. I'm going to do one final check for this. I'm going to analyze, and I'm going to do descriptive statistics crosstabs. And instead of respect, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put follow, my new variable follow, in the columns, and I'm going to do respect in the rows, and then I'm going to click OK to double check, and lo and behold, I've got negative, negative, negative with no observations over here, and they're all 0. And then I've got 1, 2, 3, and I've got those different observations over there. So I did my dependent variables correctly. So this is good. Let's go ahead and save it this time. So let's save this as version 2. Let's save the output. I'm not sure which one I just saved. Oh, I'd save the output. So let's save the data as version 2. So I just created two additional files out there, and we're good. Okay, so our dependent variables are coded now. We're going to go and do some independent variables that we're going to need to do for the different model specifications.